We're here with Dr. Adam Eichelberger at Southern Equine Service discussing foaling. All right, Adam, tell us what to look for.
So this time of year is when I get a lot of questions about foaling. A lot of clients call and say what I need to do or what I need to prepare for foaling, and typically the first thing I tell them is that hopefully about 4 to 6 weeks out from foaling that you've actually had your mare vaccinated. Typically we try to booster the mares about 4 to 6 weeks out so the foal has the proper passive transfer of the antibodies. And then when you know your mare's due, she should be due between around 330 and 340 days after breeding. That's what's normal. Some mares will go less, some mares will go much longer. Anything less than 320 days is considered premature and typically have a higher predisposition of having problems. I've heard of mares going as long as a year, 360, 370 days though, without having any problems. So mares aren't like cows. The baby typically doesn't grow too big. The mare's uterus controls the size of the baby, so therefore the mare's typically not going to have a problem having the baby unless it not due to size, maybe due to a foal having a leg flex back or his head flex back or coming the wrong position, but typically not from oversized. So don't really typically worry about your mare going too far over because the baby's not growing too big typically. Unless it's something weird, you know, like some anomaly, you know, that like the baby is formed abnormally or something weird, but 99% of them do just fine, you know.
So what signs do you start just visually looking for?
So typically a few weeks before she's going to foal, she should start bagging up. If she starts bagging up any time before just a few weeks or even as early as a couple of months, you know, bagging up, then you need to have your mare evaluated.
Okay, and tell us what bagging up means.
Yeah, bagging up means her udder development.
Okay.
So typically things I ask owners to watch throughout gestation or throughout pregnancy is udder development and any kind of vaginal discharge. Because premature udder development, any kind of vaginal discharge could mean a problem. So, but back to normal stuff, because I majority of the time see the problem stuff, but back to normal stuff, a couple of weeks before she's going to foal, she start bagging up and getting a udder. She'll probably start getting a little more lethargic, you know, just kind of feeling a little depressed and less anxious out in the pasture. Sometimes she'll start to isolate herself. And as far as when labor comes about, there's stage 1, stage 2, and stage 3, and I'll explain each 3 of those. So typically the 24 hours before she's going to foal, she actually has a significant change in her udder development. She actually may start to wax up or actually drip milk from her udder. Typically it's a little bit of colostrum. We don't want her to drip too much because we want her to have plenty of colostrum for the baby. So that's one thing definitely to closely monitor. If she's dripping a lot, then that definitely can be a problem once the baby is born. So typically they're going to wax up a lot of the udder development. Within the last few hours before she's going to foal, her tail head will sometimes relax. Some of the ligaments will relax around her rump. Her vulva typically gets a little bit longer. And definitely if she's out with another group of horses, she'll isolate herself from those horses typically. And then so stage 1 is typically 6 to 12 hours before she's going to foal. She'll kind of get nesting type behavior. She'll be up and down. She'll be kind of repositioning. She'll be depressed. She'll urinate and defecate a lot. Sometimes she'll stream milk occasionally. So those are kind of the initial stage 1. Stage 2 starts when her water breaks. Not whenever she urinates, but whenever she actually postures and a waterfall of fluid comes from her vulva. I mean, it's a significant amount of fluid. This is the amniotic fluid. This is the fluid that is not directly around the baby, but around between the amnion and the actual choriogonatois, which is the placenta that you see, and the white part is the amnion as the baby's coming out. But anyway, so that's stage 2, and that's active labor. And the baby typically needs to be out within about 45 minutes once the water breaks. If the baby's not out by then, typically you're going to have a problem. It's not like a human that can be in labor for a day or for hours, you know, because the horse's placenta is different. And once the placenta stops being attached all around as a diffuse placenta, the oxygen to the baby starts being compromised. And so that's why once the water breaks, the baby typically has to be out pretty fast.
Now what if you have a problem and you're not sure when the water broke, you didn't see it, then what do you look for?
Typically, you know, normal stuff would be mama pushing, laying down, sometimes getting up and repositioning. And typically the most important things you want to see if you see a baby coming out is 2 front legs and a nose. If you only see 1 front leg and a nose, you're definitely probably going to have a problem. Or if you see 2 front legs real far out and no head, then you're definitely going to have a problem. But it should look like the baby's diving out of the mom. you know, and straight out, one leg typically in front of the other a little bit, because as you know, our shoulders are wider when we walk through a door. And so therefore, if we come across someone in the doorway, we'll turn to our side. And so therefore, that's what baby's doing as it's coming out. And its nose is down right along their carpus or their knees, and it should just be kind of coming out. And the most difficult times for mom to push is she's getting the shoulders through and she's getting the baby's rump through.